Hey and welcome to my channel. In today's video I want to talk about school in Sweden. So it has been now 1 year since my oldest daughter went to school, went to förskola class, which is actually preschool class, and I want to talk a little bit about my first impressions about school here in Sweden. I'm very interested in what the experience is for my daughter because I grew up in Germany and I definitely compare it a lot to how I grew up and went to school. And I feel it's a very, very different system. So I want to talk about this today and discuss it with you in the comments down below. As always, this is a very unique and personal perspective I have. I'm just revealing a little bit like what my impressions are of the system. And you're more than welcome to share your experiences and your opinions in the comments down below. But maybe it also helps people who want to move to Sweden, making their mind up about what the Swedish school system could be like. So before we dive into all the details, make sure to subscribe to my channel and also sign up for my new Patreon community. There's a link in the description down below where I share more behind the scenes footage. And with that said, let's get started. So first of all, I want to talk about förskola class, which means preschool class. So it's kind of grade 0, not even grade 1. And I think it's a very great system. I don't know, I have heard some rumors that maybe in Sweden they want to get rid of förskola class, but I'm not quite sure. I personally really like it because it's a very smooth transition between kindergarten, where you have a lot of fun, you move a lot, you are outside a lot, it's all about play. And then you go to school and you normally sit down, have to listen to the teacher and do some task and stuff like that. At least this is my experience from when I started in Germany. But basically, here in Sweden, you are around 6 years old when you start preschool class, förskola class. And in Germany, you would be around 6 or 7 when you start first grade. And then there's, just to give you a bit of an overview, in the UK, you are most of the time 4 or 5 when you start reception, which I guess it's like similar to förskola class here in Sweden. But yeah, you are, 2 years younger, which definitely makes a bit of a difference. But yeah, I think förskola class is a really good system because they have a lot of different activities. It's not really sitting down and doing all the work, although this is part of the curriculum, which I will talk in more detail in a bit. But first, let's talk a little bit about the teachers, because I feel like the teachers really make or break good or bad impressions of the school system, right? And of course, you can't always get it right, and you have different teachers, but I would say there is like a system behind, or how a teacher should be here in Sweden. And I found that the teachers are super friendly. What I really, really like is that they really care about the individual. They try to, treat everyone equally. And what I also like is that in the class, there are normally 2 teachers, like the main teacher and then like kind of like a helper, or I don't know how you call them, but so I feel also that makes it a little bit easier to control like 20-30 people. There might be always someone who is a bit interruptive, but rather than being angry about it and like kind of punish them for interrupting the class, they normally find a way to give that individual a little bit of space. Maybe they go outside. They let them run around a little bit, or they go outside and go on a sofa, but they're supervised. I remember when I was a child, I was not even like a super disruptive person, but it happened, and I was really punished for it. I had to leave the room by myself, and I remember I was crying on the toilet because I found that it was really bad for me. I didn't like it, being thrown out of the class, and I was very young, so I must have been also like 6 or 7 or whatever. But yeah, here it's a bit different. It's not a punishment. Of course, no one wants people who disrupt it, but it's not seen as something super bad. Everyone has their problems. I have seen actually when I picked up my daughter or brought her to school that there was a kid really being upset and she was kind of blocking the door, and the teachers were super calm and they didn't even try to physically remove her. She would not move. So what they did, they kind of like tried to use the other door to the room and try to like navigate everyone to go that way. And I was fascinated by that. Of course, some other people can think like this is not enough discipline, you can't just like lose your shit basically and kind of like, disrupt everyone's routine. But they really didn't have that approach. They really respected the kids' feelings and they gave her some space. And, shortly after, everything was back to normal anyway. So I really, really like that about Sweden. And for me in general, the impression, everything is in Swedish. My daughter goes to 100% Swedish school. And teachers were quite hesitant at the beginning to talk in English, but as almost everyone here in Sweden, they can speak very well English. And I have talked to Swedish people about that as well. And sometimes, they do think they don't speak very well English, but it's because they don't have much practice. But honestly, most of the people can speak quite well English. So when we have a meetup, we talk mainly in English and sometimes they can just say things in Swedish. And, I try to understand it as well. So there's a mix of English and Swedish, and then parent meetings, where all the parents are there is all in Swedish. So I will just try to really understand everything. And might just ask a question after, or I just know some parents where I would just then ask, is there anything, we have to take action or something like that. But yeah, the relationship to the teachers seem very close, they hug the teachers, they seem to have a very good relationship. My daughter loves her teachers, like even on Halloween, some of them live around here, so we would knock on their door. So the relationship is very close and it's quite nice. But then let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. I already mentioned that a little bit. So they do have, a structure, of course, a plan, but there's a lot of creativity involved, a lot of art, a lot of crafting. They can experiment with a lot of materials and like, for example, wood or, my daughter came home with a lot of new skills, really like trying lots of things, more than I could ever do at home. Which I really, really appreciate because it really shapes their mind a little bit, what's possible and this creative thinking, I really, really like that. When you learn something new, you have to have a little bit of patience to practice a lot to get better at it. So that whole system I really like, and they do that a lot at school. But of course, they also do things like mathematics, learning, the alphabet and to read and things like that. I remember that my daughter, maybe it just happens twice really during the year, where she said like, wow, this is really exhausting for her to sit down and just concentrate and like trying to be fast as well, like compared to other kids. And she really, really didn't like it. And I was just thinking, okay, this is reality. You have to get used to it because there will be more of it. But she only mentioned it twice, and if you ask her what school is like, if she likes it, she would be absolutely, thrilled about it, and she would tell you she loves it. And, hearing that is so amazing. They have a lot of movement as well. So they are outside all the time, not all the time, but every day, have a few breaks. And even if the weather is not that great, that's very Swedish, where you still go outside, because kids need to run around and it's just good to be and have some fresh air. So that's also really good. I feel like I definitely didn't have that so much. And then again, it's preschool class. It's not even grade 1. So I will be very curious to see if there's a huge difference between preschool class and grade 1, if it's really just a preparation year for the kids kids to get used to like school, and if grade 1 is super different or if they have similarities or are almost the same. We will figure out that next year, so I definitely keep you updated. But I also want to talk about a few other things which I really, really appreciate. And I sometimes maybe only really think about it because I'm making this video, but it's so good to be conscious of things and be aware of things to really appreciate them sometimes. What I really love is they have basically like kind of a house, a storage house, where they have so many games in there. Things you can like do outside. They have these, I don't know, like everything really, like it feels. The kids are constantly, in the morning when you arrive, there is basically, kids can arrive earlier and then normally they're outside, and then they do a lot of outdoor activities, and they have like balls and tennis gear and some other things where they can hop. I don't know how you call it, but they have so much. It's actually unbelievable. And inside as well, they have so many games and materials to play around, so many toys as well. Like, it's very unusual, I feel. And again, it's preschool class. I don't know if that changes a little bit, although it definitely, the outdoor stuff they have, the outdoor toys and activity items and stuff, that is for everyone. I know that. So it's not only for Förskola class, for preschool class. So that already is for everyone to have a lot to play with, basically. And that made me think about my childhood a little bit, and you know what my school looked like. And I just love here as well that the school has a huge outdoor space, but also it's next to like a forest. The kids often like climb in the forest and spend quite a bit of time there, and there's a lot of rocks as well. I mean, maybe that's a bit specific to my daughter's school. Not every school has that, but they normally have quite a big outdoor space and a playground where kids can play. And I looked at my school. I actually looked it up online because I was really curious to see if my school, where I went to first grade until actually grade 4 or 5, until I moved to Munich. Before that I lived in Berlin, so it was actually in Eastern Berlin, and you could tell that there was definitely a different vibe. And I looked at some photos, and although there is another building, and I show you here on the screen, there's another building, but you can see the old building in the background. And this is exactly what my school looked like kind of like very lifeless kind of building. And here you can see there's a what do you call it, like a oh my god, how do you call it, like in English, and a Wippe in German. I will put the name on here. I can't remember what it's called. But we had nothing. We had no playground. We had no toys to play, like nothing. So that is such a huge difference. And as far as I know, my nephew, who is now in like grade 3, if I'm not mistaken, it's not quite usual that you have that in Germany. Maybe some schools, but I wouldn't say that it's usual that you provide so many materials to play with. And you know, my first impressions are really, really positive. And I would say that definitely also is connected to the happiness of my child. She loves school, and I really, really love school, you know, how she feels about it. I feel like there's a lot of creativity, a lot of freedom. The teachers really care about the children, and it's not, you know, they're not treated as a mass. They are treated individually. They have freedom to express their feelings, which is such a big thing. I think when we grew up, like when you were upset, you were kind of shut down, or at least that's how I grew up in Germany. You know, being angry or, you know, expressing your feelings openly was not something seen as, you know, it was not really something anyone could deal with. So it had to shut down. And here it's just nicer to see, like, every kid gets upset sometimes, you know, and there is no judgment about it. So I really love the mix of like education that they're learning with play, but also everything around it. And I didn't mention that earlier. What they learn a lot at school as well is, like, beyond these very typical kind of subjects like mathematics or Swedish, like literature, they talk about democracy, equality, and even body safety. They talk about things in the world happening, not only good things. They talk about you know, animals and the earth and, like, you know, biology a little bit. But every time my child comes home, she's like really fascinated by the world, and I love this curiosity, and I feel there's a lot of space for the kids to be curious at the school. And that's why my impression of the Swedish school is quite positive. So yeah, if you have any questions, you know, about my first impressions and maybe something I have not mentioned here, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any questions about the German school system and how it was to grow up in Germany, you know, visiting school there, let me know. I'm always open for any questions. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I will definitely keep you updated about school in Sweden. Like this video and subscribe to my channel. I see you soon. Hej då!